Welcome back to another episode of Perpetual Motion with Dr. Mo Anderson, where we speak to powerful voices making powerful moves. Today's guest is someone who understands that confidence isn't just a mindset. Confidence isn't just a mindset, it's something your body can show before you ever say a word. Lindsay Newitter, am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Oh, Newitter. Yeah.
Newitter. Okay.
Newitter. Yeah.
I should have asked that before we got on air.
It's
Lindsay
totally fine.
Newitter is a certified Alexander Technique instructor, posture and movement expert, and the creator of Posture Speaks. For over 17 years, she's helped ambitious, sensitive, and busy women show up with presence and power. And I can't wait to hear more about how to improve my confidence with my posture. I need this, y'all. All righty. Shout out to our global listeners and thank you, returning listeners and new folks. Please hit that like and subscribe button right now as we welcome Lindsay Newitter.
Oh, hi, Dr. Mo. Thank you so much for having me on this podcast. I'm really excited to speak with you and to share this information with your listeners.
Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to hearing it. When we did our pre-call, I told you this is something I need. My chiropractor just reminded me that I need it. So let's get right to it.
Okay.
Let me give you kudos on having your work featured in Good Morning America, the New York Times, and Vogue. That is dope. Very and I can't wait to learn hidden ways posture and breath shape how we feel, how we're perceived, and how we reclaim confidence. So let's get after it.
Yeah.
The thing, as I was reading your bio profile, you're just so impressive. The thing that I found most mind-blowing is hearing that posture influences not only how confident we feel, but how others perceive us, particularly in male-dominated spaces or high-stakes conversation. Share with me explain that concept, how that works.
Well, I'll start with what I think people tend to notice in those situations, which is they might notice that, they have trouble getting a word in, or that they feel like they keep getting interrupted, or sometimes it's the opposite. It's like they feel like they're interrupting unintentionally. And other things that are more physical are that they might feel like they're running out of breath, but they're not really sure why, but they feel like, they're talking and suddenly they have less and less breath. You probably hear that when I demonstrate that. Or there's just a feeling of nervousness, or like they get hoarse when they speak, or they'd see a photo of themselves and, maybe they see a photo of themselves speaking and they didn't know their picture was being taken. And I hear this one so often. They're like, oh my God, I'm looking at this picture of myself and I don't like how it looks. It just, my posture, my shoulders are all slumped. My head's going forward. I don't look confident. I don't look like I'm projecting what I want to be projecting, but I don't even feel that I'm doing that. So there's a disconnect sometimes between what people actually feel they're doing with their bodies and what they're doing. So it's kind of like you're not in control of your body language. And our body language communicates a lot. It often communicates more than the actual words that we are saying. And that is affected just by our overall postural habits. And when I say posture, a lot of the time people think, oh, that's like pulling your shoulders back. It's like, mom says, stand up straight, right? Pull my shoulders back. And it's sometimes thought of as like just something you're supposed to be able to fix quickly, a position. And people try to fix it. And they're like, I can't maintain that. And often the understanding of what that involves is not really clear for most people. And posture, it's not really a position. It's more like an attitude, and it's physical, it's emotional, and it's mental. And you could say it's kind of the physical expression of how we feel, our mindset, and how we are responding to all the stimuli that are coming at us all day. So like in a kind of a situation where we might want to feel and project confidence, it might be those people or person who we are responding to them in some way. We're having a feeling or a thought, and then the body responds. And if we can become more in tune with how we're responding, specifically, not just, oh, there's my body, I feel my body, but really specifically what's going on, how that posture is getting to how it is, then that gives us the power to then learn how we can change it. And that you can have tools that you can use in the moment so that you can feel grounded, you can feel confident, and you can know that you're not getting into that kind of position you might have seen yourself in a picture.
Right, right. Oh, that's excellent. And the way you describe it, it's almost like a dance, like art, as opposed to what boomers like me, our mothers were like shoulders back, chest out, chin up, and you can conquer the world, but it really is a combination of that external and internal. It's not just throwing your shoulders back, because I see people do that and they're not inspiring confidence for whatever reason, even though I think, wow, I love the way she holds herself upright, but I'm not so sure she knows what she's talking about. So I get, as you were talking, all kind of things came to mind. Even with myself, I've seen pictures of me speaking when someone gets a photo from the side, and we're going to look at some photos, folks, so stay tuned too and analyze those. But yeah, and I look and I'm like, oh my goodness, is that how I'm showing up? Is that how I'm presenting myself? Totally unaware of it. So everything you said really, really hit home with me. And in addition to wanting to appear confident and inspire confidence, we also, I've heard you say that posture affects our mood. How does it help us manage stress, just for our personal improvement and growth, and calm our nerves and think clearly? What role does posture play in that?
Well, I'll start by saying everything affects everything. So if you want to feel poised and grounded and confident when you're giving a talk or you're in a meeting or in a situation where you have to think on your feet, I don't tell people to just focus on that situation. Okay. It's really like, well, what is going on globally? How are you dealing with stress and stimuli all day? And I don't mean you have to become completely obsessed with this, but it's just to start to observe, start to notice, and start to make some subtle changes. And so an example could be simply dealing with being on the computer all day, dealing with the screen. And that can generate a lot of stress. You might say, like, it's not maybe like the most stressful event you might deal with all day, all week, all year, but it's compounded stress. It's, I'm in a hurry. I've got to get this done. What's that email? What are all these things, bouncing around on the screen? And the screen can become like this vacuum that sucks us in. So when we get more into in a little bit,
a horror movie.
Yeah. Oh God. It's like the screen monster, right? Well, so the thing is that we'll get into a little bit later, just, some tools that you can use, not to get into that. But basically what's happening is, like, our eyes are latching on to what we're seeing. So we get kind of pulled in by our vision, and we can really lose ourselves in that. And so you could get yourself in quite a stress state for hours and not even notice your stress. But at the end of the day, you might go like, gee, my back hurts and I just feel so tense. And so this could be like, what we might call mental stress. You're worried about all the things you have to do, but it just could be like you get yourself in a crunch and don't know what's happening.
Right.
It could also be just sort of a slow, like, the screen's down here and I'm just slowly going down toward that screen.
Yeah. And that gets to the ergonomics as well, I think. Also, as you're saying this, it occurs to me, because I've seen it when I was in an office with team members, who don't know how to properly set up the screens and the monitor, the eye level and all of that. And that contributes to poor posture as well, I would think.
Absolutely contributes. And, most people are using a screen, and I'll ask any client, like, what's your desk setup like? Because if you're working on yourself, but your setup is like really working against you, it's like, why do that to yourself?
Exactly.
But there are the outer ergonomics, how we set things up, but there's also the inner ergonomics, we might say, like how you are coordinating, directing your own body, your neuromuscular system, so that you are not getting into that collapsed or rigid state when you are on the screen or with people, or,
right,
hurrying somewhere, whatever you're doing.
Well, it sounds like You have to be thinking about this constantly, though. Is there a point where it becomes innate as
Yeah.
practice these new ways of being? Or because it makes me think about when I was learning to golf, I couldn't even hit the ball for thinking about the mechanics of my grip and is my shoulder right and is this foot twisting. At some point, will I just naturally do these things? Because I really need to improve my posture. So I'm asking
Yes.
for me. If it helps you
Yes.
out, great, but I'm asking for me.
Well, yes, if you do practice intentionally, and you bring up a good point that, geez, it sounds like you have to think about this all day. You don't necessarily. And people have different learning styles. So some people, they get some of this information and
Mhm.
it just sort of like, they kind of notice it throughout the day. It's like, oh
Mhm.
yeah, look at that. Other people need like, this is my practice time. I'm going to just practice, sitting down, looking at my screen, not getting drawn in by it, kind of resetting. I'm going
Mhm.
to practice, the kitchen is always a good place, like that's sort of not stressful, where you can start practicing. I'm going to practice chopping my vegetables and doing my dishes without getting all
Okay.
collapsed.
Okay.
So I'm going to maybe go through a little sequence for myself, do it more mindfully. So it can help to make it manageable. Like if you identify a few key moments in the day, things that you do every day,
Mhm.
that you make a point to practice during those times. So that's a way to make it like, I'm not like, putting this demand on myself that I have to think about this every second. You do want it to be more on autopilot. Body awareness is something that is on autopilot, but we want to make it a little more conscious so that the autopilot can be more reliable.
Ah, body awareness. Okay, that's a new
Yes.
term for me and a good one. And it's self-explanatory. I get that. I get
Yeah.
that. You also talk about, Lindsay, a surprising, often ignored element that's crucial to improving posture. What is it, and why is it such a game changer, especially for women navigating professional environments?
Well, so it is body awareness, but we're going to get more specific than that. So
Okay.
if I just say, be aware of your body, which people have heard, like, don't forget yourself, be aware of your body. Are you aware of yourself? Whatever that is that you're aware of in that moment, that is as your body, it's your body with whatever habits you have. And often what happens is we get kind of stuck in patterns and habits. We call
Mhm.
them poor posture, where things get kind of, maybe locked up, or we're just sort of, it's like we're not fully in our body. And it's like there are sort of places that are hidden in terms of our consciousness. We're not aware of them. It's almost like your body has rooms with the lights off. Right? And if I say be aware of your body, you're not going to be aware of those rooms because the lights are off. So we want to turn the lights on in those areas that you're not conscious of, so that you have a more accurate sense of what you're doing. And that
Mhm.
sense, it has a specific word. It's called proprioception, kind of a fancy word, but it means sensing yourself, right? So it's different from like your sense of touch. You can feel things. This is
Mhm.
actually sensing where your body parts are. And so
Okay.
in a way that everyone can probably relate to, you put your arm behind you, your arm is there. You can touch your nose, and you know how to do that without like going, where's my nose? But people often get sort of a misconception, for example, where their head is.
Mhm.
What is their neck versus what is their head? Where
You
their
know what?
hips are, where their shoulders are. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
saw a commercial today.
Yep.
This guy was giving a testimonial for a car dealership, and his head was like this the whole time. You
Mm-hmm.
just made me think of that. And he was talking about being in a car accident and how this attorney, I won't say the attorney's name, helped him. But he was like this. And I remember thinking, is something wrong with his neck, or is that from the accident? Is
Right.
that just the way he talked? And eventually he kind of straightened up. But that was, and I'm sure he's not even aware unless somebody's told him that he speaks like that. So
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea of, I mean, I like that you're sharing that it's not stuff we're doing intentionally, that you're not even aware. You've been doing it so long, you don't even know you're doing it anymore. And I talked to you about, you know, the chiropractor telling me I had a forward head motion. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I went back and looked at pictures and I started being more body aware. And I was like, gosh, I do that. Why do I do that? And I'm trying to work on it. So awareness does lead to action, but you got to start with the awareness,
The
right?
awareness. And it's like, what it really is it's it's like, if you want to say we're fixing something, I don't love the word fixing,
Understood.
but we're fixing the awareness. We're fixing the proprioception, and that fixes the posture because we
Understood.
know what we're doing. And so if you think of like your proprioception, your sense of where you are, it works, it functions well, but it becomes for most people like a compass that's not quite pointing north. So you're relying on this sense of where you are that's not quite lining up with north, with like true accuracy. So starting to get that accurate, it gives you a sense of agency, a sense of knowing what you're doing. And that was my experience with this. You want to hear my story or how I got into this?
I hear your story.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm 45 right now, and
No way.
yeah, I'm
Wow.
45.
So much
And
for that whole good black myth, because you look great.
ah,
Got the black
well,
don't crack.
thank you.
You look great.
Thank you, Zane. It's my posture. But so anyway, I feel better in my body at 45 than I did at 20. And when I was 20, I had come off of my teenage years, 5 straight years of wearing a back brace for scoliosis. And so I went to college, and I went to college to study acting. Right. And I get there, my shoulders are up to my ears. I'm stiff, tense, I'm super insecure, and have no idea what's going on. And I'm in all these classes, all these, instructions about how to move and breathe and speak. And I'm trying really hard, but I can't do it. And it's like the more exercises I do, the more tense I get, because I don't know how my body's doing those exercises, because my compass is off. It's not pointing north. And so as you introduced me, I'm an Alexander Technique instructor. That's the method I teach. And we had a class in this method that was required, third year class. I had no idea what it was, but it got me to sense my body from the inside and start to sense where I was in space accurately. And so that gave me not just a way to follow those instructions correctly, but to know like, oh gosh, in like social situations where I'm like, I'm kind of introverted and I sometimes would feel super awkward. I'm like, wait, I have the power to not go into my normal sort of reaction of like my shoulders go up and like I kind of hold my breath and sort of moving my feet and making myself small. I'm like, I might still have a feeling of I feel insecure, but I can actually respond differently to that feeling. And also a big part of that is that staying connected to myself and staying connected to the person I'm speaking with. Right. And that there, like you said before, it's kind of an art. Like there's kind of like this dance going on and how we're interacting with other people and things.
That's so important. Yeah. All the ways that you're explaining these things as a healthcare provider, and from the neck up, I've always thought of proprioception in terms of the inner ear and people
that
getting
as well,
oriented. But I like the way that you're using the term. It's familiar but different. So I have a good understanding of what you're saying, because we can, and I think most women in particular, but men as well, know that we can project confidence without feeling very confident. I mean, some people just they're big talkers, they have that imposter syndrome, but they still come across, at least vocally and mentally, as being very confident. So then when we add this posture piece coming from the inside, if I'm getting this right, that just brings it 360 mind, body, and soul. As a result, I would think you would actually become more confident and not be faking.
Oh, absolutely. Confident. Yeah, not like the fake it till you make it, but actually like, there may be a feeling of like, ooh, I start to feel a little insecure, but then you can actually overcome that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that whole like, I'm standing up straight, I'm being powerful. And, you said something like seeing somebody do that, you think, well, maybe you don't really know what you're talking about when you see someone do the powerful thing, right? And it's like, well, what is that? Well, it's not genuine. It's like pushing. Right. It's tense. It's kind of in your face, and the person is not grounded. Right. And actually, when we're grounded, our words land. They land differently. They land with more confidence.
They absolutely do. So right now we're going to try something new with this software. I don't have a producer, so we're going to try this.
Okay.
You sent me some really, really great photos demonstrating, posture mistakes, for lack of a better word. And so we're going to try to look at those and analyze those, have you professionally analyze them.
Okay.
So we're going to do a little screen share. And for those of you watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see, but if not, we'll certainly be explaining carefully and specifically what we're looking at so that you can also feel like part of the conversation. So let's make this a little bit bigger.
Okay.
We've got someone here
Yep.
in an office or at home at a desk doing that lovely, lovely computer work we were referring to earlier. And let's talk about what you're seeing here. Do I need to make it a little bigger? Let's try making that a little, well, that's
And maybe
too
a
much.
little smaller. There we go.
Okay, let's talk about what you're seeing there and why it's a problem.
Yeah.
Some people might not get that yet, how this impacts us.
So this is a perfect example of that, like the visual just pulling somebody in. So for those of you who can see me as well, I'll kind of do what she's doing. So what she's doing is she's got the screen there in front of her, and it's like that vacuum effect. The screen is like sucking her face toward it, or she's pushing her face toward the screen.
The monitor, yeah.
Yeah. And so what happens is a lot of people think that posture is a shoulder thing. It's really a whole body thing. And what it starts with usually is the head. Because what's on our head? It's all our sense organs, especially our eyes.
Right.
And so we tend to follow our eyes. So she's kind of looking down at that screen, and her whole head and neck are dropping down. And then she's got to look up a little bit to see it. So then her head is kind of locking back on her neck at the same time. So it's sort of this like head and neck are scrunching and pulling down and forward. And that is pulling her whole spine down and her shoulders. So the shoulders are kind of the result of all of that. So if she goes, oh no, I'm slouching, and she just pulls her shoulders back, she's not actually going to be resolving all that tension up in her neck, right? It's just creating more tension, pulling the shoulders back. So what I teach people is to start with being more aware of your head. And I could talk about that now, or I could go through these and I could talk you through that.
Let's go through them.
Yeah.
And I'll add, I've had some lower back problems and neck problems that have required me to learn a lot more about ergonomics since I've gone from clinical practice and dentistry. Oh my God, it's my fellow healthcare providers out there, please pay attention, because dentistry in particular is very, very hard on the neck and back. What I see, and correct me if I'm wrong, is as well if she had her keyboard back and had a keyboard tray, that would also help her sit back. So many people are working on a table or working on a desk, but that little extra few dollars to get the keyboard at an angle where you can hold your arms back and down, and you won't have as many wrist issues as well. And she's not using the back of her seat. We get these seats with the lumbar support for the curvature of the spine, and then we're leaning forward the whole day. We're not even utilizing the resources that we have to support us. And I say that because that's what led to my back problems, was that stress of holding that position. Instead, I had a great, very, very nice chair with all this stuff I could adjust, but I wasn't using it.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry. The furniture is really important.
It jacked me up. That's all. It jacked me up. So I learned the hard way. Because when you're young, that's the other thing. When you're young, you can pull this off and just roll out. But when you get 40s, 50s, and 60s, child, you better get all the support you can. try to do it the right way, right?
Yeah.
What were you about to say, Lindsay?
Well, no, so the furniture is very important, and I agree with everything you said. But we can also, if we look at like what she's doing there, we'll see some things and other things. If you remember the position she was in, we'll see that repeated in other things.
Okay.
Okay.
My apologies for skipping to the next one. I
didn't know. No. Go ahead. Yeah.
I was just trying to tee it up.
Yeah.
Here's another big one, is that we are all doing. You hardly see anybody even looking up anymore. We are talking, walking and texting, riding and texting, eating dinner and texting, but in particular, this right here for the commuters, for the walkers, what is the problem here, and how can we do it better? And for those who again are listening to audio only, we have a young lady walking down the street, kind of slumped over in one image, trying to look closely at her phone. We've got those small images there. Even if you have the really good phone, you're trying to get the phone close to you. So instead of bringing the phone up, I guess she's leaned over.
Yeah.
But tell us what's going on here, and what makes. I'm assuming the one on the left is that she's doing it properly, but talk to me.
So here we see again that the head is following the eyes and just dropping down. And then you get the whole torso, part of the torso, like from the waist down dropping. So again, if you fix that just by pulling your shoulders back, then we're not kind of dealing with this whole pattern of the head. So yes, having the phone higher can help. But a lot of people say, should I hold my arms up and hold my phone straight in front of me? And I usually say no, because then you're dealing with the weight of your arms. And what happens when people stand, if they tend to like drop forward when they sit, they may still be dropping their shoulders forward when they stand, but the weight of their upper body tends to lean back. So you might see her head is forward, her shoulders are going forward, but the whole upper body is kind of sitting back, like her pelvis is kind of taking her back. Her weight's going back.
Okay.
And that's something that people often miss. We'll see that in another picture. So in the other image, she's got the phone up a little bit, but when she's moving down to look at it, she's accessing a higher part of her neck that most people don't realize is even there. That you can look down from way up between your ears and not drop your whole head and neck. And that's usually an easier way to look at the phone than to try to hold your arms up.
Understood.
So just bring it up a little higher, bending your elbows, and then think of just gently dropping your chin by moving up between the ears.
Okay, kind of pivoting around.
Pivoting, exactly.
All right,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. Good explanation. Let's look at the next one. I'll enlarge it a little bit. We've got a nice, friendly looking woman here extending her hand for a handshake, which all of us in sales or corporate or whatever are doing pretty frequently when we meet people. What's going on here, and how could it be better?
Well, here we see on the left that it's a little bit like that computer thing. I was going to reference back to that. It's like her face, her eyes are going toward the person, but her shoulders are going forward and the center of her body is kind of going back. So it's like her head's going toward the person, but it's also like I'm coming back away from the person at the same time. And there creates kind of a compression, a slouch. And the second one, she's staying integrated. She's staying stable and aligned and just extending her arm. And so it creates sort of a different presence, doesn't it?
It really is. Now that definitely conveys more confidence. And I hadn't even noticed that before, with the shoulder dropping and leaning in to reach for someone. But I'm pretty sure that's probably the way I've been doing it, the way I won't be doing it anymore after this day. But why do we do that even? I mean...
Well, so part of it can be habit, and that feeling of like your face going toward what you see. It's almost like our face can become like something flat. Like we're not aware of your head, the head having a top way above your eyes. So this is where you can try something. If you just scratch your head or tap it, your head is way above your eyes. Just create a little sensation there. And then take your hand away. And you sense your head that's where the top of you is. It's not here. It's not eye level. It's way up above it. And the back of the head is actually behind your neck. So if you just touch the back of your head, you create a little sensation there. You want to be aware of the back of your head extends way back behind your neck. And the pivot point that we were talking about before, it's not at the back of your head. It's closer to the middle. It's right where your ears are. So the way that she is kind of using her body in that first picture, it's sort of like she's just pushing her face forward like it's a flat thing. And it's bringing her whole weight of her head forward. That's like a weight of a bowling ball. And it makes everything slouch. And it's also like there can be sort of an emotional thing too, like almost like the center of the body, that emotional center where we have all those nerves in the solar plexus area, like that's sort of pulling back. Like I'm here, my face is going toward you, but I'm not completely present.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And we do want to be present. That is
Yeah.
part of conveying
Yes.
acceptance. Let's see if we can get through one more. We're getting a
Yep.
little short on time, but I think this is our example of how to do it right. She's got a standing desk. For those of you listening, she's got a standing desk, which I have in my office as well. And she's working on a laptop. And what can we learn from this image, Lindsay?
So this is an example of overcorrecting.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we might see is at her waist level, her whole upper body is leaning back. So she's not aligned. She's not slouched forward, but she's doing a little bit of the like lift the chest, leaning back. And that can create pressure right into the lower back. Okay. And because her torso is so far back, then she might start putting her head and neck more forward to go toward that screen. Now we could do some adjustment of her setup there, bring that laptop up higher, give her a keyboard, like you were saying before with the desk.
Right. And they've got lots of devices that you can put on your desk to help with that. Yeah.
But to me, she's like really, she's almost sitting into her lower back, and that she could actually let her chest come more forward to be more aligned. Her chest come forward and her lower ribs come back. So this sort of sitting into the lower back when standing, I see that a lot. It can be sort of an overcorrection.
Right. There. Okay. I'm glad that you explained this slide, because when you sent it to me and I looked at it, I thought, oh, okay, she's got really great posture. I didn't even realize that you can overcompensate of the other way, the direction we think about the going forward, but also in going back. And I know that's going to mess up your lower back over time as well. I don't want to be stuck there, but I'm trying to help you out. Cross the bridges that I burn. You do not want that. Really, really good information there. Thank you for going through those with us.
Sure.
People who are entrepreneurs, executives, wherever you are, I guarantee you that making these changes, just since our pre-call even, I've started doing some things differently, and I'm not getting that pain and tension headaches that I was getting too. So I assume it's kind of, we're straining our necks a little bit though.
Yeah.
And doing that as well.
Yeah, the head and neck is huge. And if I say there's one thing you're going to start focusing on, it's notice where you're putting your head. It's literally 10 to 12 pounds. It's the weight of a bowling ball on top of your spine.
That's more than my bowling ball. Yeah.
Well, and most people, what they feel is they're like, oh, my upper back strain, or like the back of my neck hurts and my shoulders are sore, but they don't recognize the weight is coming from their head. And just having a different perception, so having that accurate sense of where your head actually is, can make a huge difference.
All right. It's about changing perception and radiating confidence. I love this. This has been a fantastic conversation, Lindsay. Thank you. It's been both informative and practical. It's important to me that people leave here with some immediate takeaways that's going to make their loving, living, and laughing better. And this absolutely has that potential impact if people just go ahead and make the small changes necessary to do the big things. So please, tell listeners how to find you online and access. I think you've got a free training that you're offering today. Just tell them how to connect with you.
Sure. I do have a free training that goes into a bit more detail about how to actually do what I was just explaining, and how that can relate to how you can feel more confident, be more seen and heard, and, project your voice in a way that is not forced when you have to speak with other people. And you can find that free training, which is called The 5 Biggest Mistakes That Women Make When Trying to Feel More Powerful and Confident. You can find that on my website, which is lindsaynewitter.com. I'll spell that for you. That's LINDSAY, Newitter, NEWITTER.com. And there'll be a button right near the top that says Get Free Training, and you can grab that.
All right. The only thing I love more than training is free training. Great free training. Thank you for that. So listeners, take advantage of that. Connect with Lindsay, learn more, and help others too. this is one you need to share. You know somebody who's all humped over like Quasimodo. Help them out. Help them out of pain with Lindsay's great information. Thank you again. And thank you, listeners. Remember to like, subscribe, and share for more like this and to help us share this information with others and grow this platform. Until next time, be well and be safe. Thank you.
Thank you so much.